Welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. Today, we're exploring something deeply unsettling, yet incredibly fascinating. We are pulling back the curtain on the psychology of the fake nice persona. We're going to explore a very specific type of silent manipulation, the kind that hides right in plain sight, comfortably concealed behind a warm, welcoming smile. It's all about how these individuals use kindness as camouflage to gain control, manipulate emotions, and completely weaponize empathy.
Okay, let's dive into this. When we think of danger, we usually picture aggression or hostility, right? But the source material for today's explainer presents a really chilling reality. Some of the most dangerous people don't look dangerous at all. They smile, they help you out, they speak softly. They slowly and systematically gain your trust. And because fake nice people don't attack openly, they manipulate silently. They wait until the damage is already done, and by the time you realize who they truly are, well, you're already trapped.
To understand why this works so incredibly well, we really have to look at our own human wiring. We naturally associate traits like politeness, empathy, and friendliness with safety. It's basically an instinct. When someone is kind to us, our psychological defenses just automatically lower. But here's the catch. This instinct creates the absolute perfect blind spot. Psychology reveals that not everyone who appears kind is genuinely good. For some, niceness is literally nothing more than a carefully crafted social strategy. And manipulators exploit this psychological loophole flawlessly. They wear kindness as camouflage to gain control, manipulate your emotions, and completely avoid suspicion. Why? Because they understand a fundamental truth about human nature. People trust appearances way more than intentions. If they look the part of a caring friend or, an innocent helper, you won't even think to look for a hidden agenda.
Which brings us to Section 1, the illusion of safety.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a terrifyingly calculated process of infiltration. You see, real manipulators rarely look aggressive because aggression just creates immediate resistance. If someone yells at you, you put up a wall, right? But niceness slips right past the guards. First, the manipulator studies you. Maybe they're a coworker noticing you feel undervalued or a bit isolated. Second, they morph into exactly what you want to see, the ultimate supportive ally. And finally, they use that profound emotional access to create control. They don't do this because they care deeply. They do it because emotional access is the key to power.
Moving right along to Section 2, kindness as a weapon.
So, fake nice people rely heavily on a core behavioral science concept called reciprocity psychology. Let's break that down for a second. It's basically just that very human tendency to feel obligated or even guilty when receiving help without giving something back. So, a manipulator will do favors for you, give you extra attention, or act overly supportive. But it's not out of genuine generosity. They're doing this specifically to create an invisible emotional debt. And here is the formula they rely on. Emotional debt equals control. Once that debt exists, you suddenly feel obligated, guilty, and emotionally pressured to comply with what they want. And the craziest part? You often do it without even realizing why you feel that way. Manipulation is absolutely at its strongest when it feels invisible. And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference between genuine care and someone just purchasing influence. Real kindness feels peaceful. It's driven by a true desire for connection. Manipulative kindness, on the other hand, feels strategic, transactional, and is driven entirely by control. Fake, nice people don't help you because they love connection. They help you because they love influence. They want your attention, your validation, and your emotional power.
Next up is Section 3, the guilt trap and weaponized empathy.
Fake, nice people are absolute masters of guilt manipulation. They will constantly remind you of how good they are. Listen closely for phrases like, "After everything I've done for you," or "I was only trying to help," or even, "You're hurting me." These aren't innocent expressions of hurt. No way. They're highly calculated phrases designed to create intense emotional pressure, making you feel entirely selfish simply for trying to protect yourself. And believe me, they know exactly who these tactics work best on. They intentionally target highly empathetic people. Why? Because empathetic individuals tend to overthink, they avoid conflict, and they feel guilty incredibly easily. Fake nice people will spin emotional stories, play the victim, or appear emotionally broken. It's not because they actually need your help, it's because your sympathy grants them influence, and influence creates power over you.
And that brings us to the climax of our explainer, Section 4, when the mask slips.
So what happens when this illusion is finally challenged? Well, healthy people respect boundaries, but the word a manipulator hates the absolute most is no. The moment you create emotional distance, their personality undergoes a rapid shift. Because boundaries expose true intentions. When control begins to slip away, a fake nice person will suddenly become highly offended, angry, or intensely passive-aggressive.
Losing control terrifies a manipulator. This sudden, jarring shift from overly sweet to cold and distant is exactly why emotionally powerful people stay calm and extremely observant around excessive, unearned kindness. They understand the harsh reality that not everyone who smiles at you is actually on your side.
To protect themselves from being exposed, manipulators utilize something called the public image trap. First, they carefully build this amazing public reputation of kindness and emotional intelligence. Second, when issues inevitably arise behind closed doors, the victim feels completely isolated because everyone else thinks the manipulator is just perfect. And third, this triggers profound psychological self-doubt. The victim starts thinking, maybe I'm the problem. It's brilliant in the worst way. Once they control your perception of reality, they completely control your emotions.
Let's pivot to our survival guide in Section 5, Spotting the Fake.
So, the crucial point is knowing the definitive red flags. That is your absolute best defense. Watch for patterns. Are they kind only when they need something? Do they constantly guilt trip others? Do they seek endless validation? Do they frequently play the victim? And most tellingly of all, do they change their behavior the very second you set a firm boundary?
You have to ask yourself this question. Do they remain stable when they stop getting attention or control? This is how you observe actions rather than falling for performances. True, genuine kindness remains completely stable regardless of what it gets in return. Manipulation, on the other hand, always changes with the circumstances.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core takeaway. The scariest manipulators don't look evil, they look trustworthy. And that is exactly why they are so incredibly dangerous. Kindness without honesty is just manipulation. So the next time someone offers you an extravagant, totally unprompted favor, ask yourself, what are they really trying to buy? Have you ever fallen for the mask of kindness? Stay observant, trust your boundaries, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.